Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today is Polly Taylor. Hi, Polly. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very well indeed, thanks. So, Polly, you're a guide, you're a PT, you're an ultra runner, and you're an ambassador for La Sportiva. Is there anything else on that list that I've missed? Probably is.
I have no, actually, probably that's about it, really. I have a very good support crew that come with me.
Yeah.
And it can be quite a challenge for them because doesn't matter how good they are, something will always go pear-shaped when you meet them because you don't want anything that they've served up for you in a meal. So that's ultra running for you.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting journey.
Have you always used the same support crew, or have those people changed? How do you identify who's going to be in that crew?
My sister's always been the #1 support crew. She's been very good. She was a great show jumper for New Zealand, so she knows, and a good athlete herself, so she knows what that's all about. My partner, he was thrown in the deep end when I first did Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
But he's been there ever since. And then I've now got a girl from Auckland, Lisa Good, who is wanting to. She signed up for a Tawera and said, "I want to be your support crew." And she was very good. Between her and Steve, they made life as easy, the journey, the 100 miles, the best it could be. And I had a pacer up there, which I've never had before either. So that was actually quite good in the night. So suddenly it's 8:15 in the morning and you're going down the finishing chute and it's like, wow, that went fast. So talk to you all the time.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been running ultras, Polly? Because I mean, you being a guide, you're on your feet a lot, and I guess that feeds nicely into time on your feet. And I listened to your Dirt Church interview, and that's something that you mentioned. But how long have you done the ultras as opposed to sort of shorter distances?
It's probably been 20 years. Before that, I was a road cyclist, and I went in a couple of trials for New Zealand and came in 6th or 4th, but didn't quite make the cut. But I spent, I was quite a competitive road cyclist before that. And and then went into multi-sport, coast to coast. So I've done 5 of those, and been pretty successful at that. And then I started the 21K and absolutely useless as tits on a ball. I was just hopeless. I was just like, what the heck, And I thought, oh, well, I might try a marathon. And I went up and did Rotorua, and that was okay. And, oh, yeah, that's okay. I might try 50. And then it started building up to there. And then I did 100K and then said to my coach, hey, I found this cool race. It's a 100-miler. And he said, where is it? And I said, well, it's the toughest in the Southern Hemisphere. He said, do it. And he goes, well, give it a crack. And I said, well, it's 10,800 meters of total climbing. So it's like 40,000 feet. And I said, it's right up there. So that was my first one. So I think I've done 400 milers so far.
Right.
In a short time, 2018 is when I did the first one. And then, of course, 2019, I had a 4-year gap through being hit in a car. So back into it now.
Yeah. And not everybody would have a pacer, right? That's not a typical thing for people to have in those events.
Yeah, it is. Like in Northburn 100-miler, no paces. Is it? You can benefit from that. If you podium, you can't podium with the pacer. But Delaware surprised me where you allowed a pacer. And Costco in Australia, they're all international UTMB races.
Yeah.
You can have a pacer, but I don't think UTMB in France next year. I don't think you can have a pacer for that. I haven't seen anybody with a pacer. So I'm a bit of a like to run on my own anyway, so it doesn't really worry me. But but it's quite good having them.
I bet. Good. Yeah. You talked in that other interview about the these distances being the top 2 inches. and coming back from that accident where you were hit by a car. What sort of things did you have to do to get yourself back into the shape that you wanted to be and that you were happy to carry on building into those longer distances again?
I think when you're in intensive care and you know, family's there and things are going a bit pear-shaped there for a while, and they say, it's okay, you know, we'll get you an electric bike, and the first thing you sort of say, yeah, right, okay. And I just, you know, I had that thing as my goal was always UTMB, and that had been taken away from me in 2019. And to qualify for UTMB is really hard because you got to earn all these, it's now running stones. It used to be points and then you lost them. So I've got 6 running stones. So that gives me 6 entries. But because I won Tarawera, they said to me at the finish line, we'll see you in France next year. So, but I'll never, you know, I don't take anything for granted. And that's why I'm going over to Cozzy to get more points. It's another 4 points and try and win that one as well. So, and to do that, I need a good coaching team and behind me and good nutrition guy as well, which is what I employed when I decided to get back into running.
Yeah. So you didn't have a nutritionist up to that point. It was from that point onwards as you were rehabbing back.
Yeah, I had one for the first 100 mile I did, and that was pretty good. And then I decided I wanted to, you know, I've got to give myself 100% chance of getting back to where I was. And he's, you know, Ascent Nutrition played a massive part in that, and he's very, very good. You know, you do everything by the book, doesn't stand any shit. And his advice is great. And he's actually made me run way faster than I did before the accident as well.
Oh, really?
So interesting. Yeah, a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Dave, you know, one of the HMC things, we did a nutritional serious creatine. I went, oh, really? You know, and then I spoke to him. He said, I've been waiting for you to say, let's start. So, so it made a huge difference.
You added that into your regime?
Every breakfast. Yeah.
Oh, right. So you've got your crew that are there on the day, but you've also got Cairo, your nutritionist, you've got James Kugler, who's your run coach. Are there any others on that list?
No, that's about it, really, just me.
Yeah. And did they make as much of a difference to the people who are there on the day in terms of executing the training plan and sticking to the nutrition and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I treat every race like think of it as getting all the ingredients ready to bake a cake.
Sure.
And then the race is the icing on the cake. You've done all the hard work, and hopefully it's a perfect cake. And executed the race plan the best you can because you've done everything. And I found with Phil that I eat 4 meals a day. And I found that I first noticed it with Kepler because I won Kepler in my age, and I did pretty well in the other age groups as well. So I was quite happy, but I did most of that race on oranges and bananas.
Really?
And it was because my body had been fueled so well from the months leading up to the race that I, you know, and I just had this endless energy.
Really?
So and same with Tarawera, the 100 miler. I believe that, you know, just oranges and bananas, and then a smoothie, because all the food that my support crew got me is, no, I don't want that. But a lot of coffee. I drank a lot of coffee.
Okay.
To keep you alert, because I don't suffer from sleep deprivation, but some people do, and it's absolutely hilarious. One guy was sure there was a dozen crate of beer in front of him. Every time he bent down to get a bottle of beer out of the crate, it took off again. So it was a little funny thing. Whereas I don't suffer from any of that. I just I can just carry on all day and all night and all day. So but I kept eating little bits all the time, or baby food.
Mostly fruit, fiber, not much protein.
No, they did come along with my support crew did have a smoothie, which was pretty nice.
Mm.
So Radix, they make a really good smoothie as well. So
Right.
we so in Australia things are going to be a bit different. We've got to cart everything over there. It's not like you put it in the back of your truck. So things like Radix, that's really good. And Goo, street waffles, they work well.
Yeah.
Slugs, yeah.
Right. Brilliant. What would you say is your most memorable performance to date, and why?
It's really hard because we had the same question with Dirt Church, and I said, "Oh, you can't beat Northburn 100 miler," because that one was my first 100 miler, and the funny thing with that was this woman had always beaten me. She was a lot younger than me, and I knew that, and she had, I think she'd been right up there amongst, the elite runners. And I thought, oh, well, I'll just sort of try and keep my support crew knowing where she is. And, but I had no idea I'd passed her with 30K to go. And so I said to myself, right, and I like to chase people down. So I thought, right, I'm going to chase her down. And every hill I came to the top, I couldn't find her. And so I'd say to myself, you're going to run the whole last 30K of 100 mile, but you'd already climbed like 40,000 feet and up and down and up and down. So it wasn't until I was coming towards the end, they said, you're the leading woman. And I said, well, where's the other one gone?
Yeah.
She's nowhere to be seen. I went, no, you've got to be kidding me. And so to me, that was, to win that was pretty awesome. But I did feel really guilty once I found out. I wanted to stop and let her pass me. So
Really?
I felt really bad. It's like, oh, that's not fair because everything was for her. And I was just one that came out of the hills to run a race. So I think that one was, but Tarawera, unbelievable how Rotorua gets in behind that race. They're just amazing. The aid stations, everything is just so well done. That the whole community gets in behind it. And it's and being a flatter race, I think it was only 5,000 meters. So I knew I was going to be up against it a little bit with that one because I thought, well, I'm not a flat runner, I'm a hill runner. And I just loved it. Yeah, it was a really cool race. It went quite quickly, really. 10 hours faster than the other last 100 miler. Yeah, so it was
right.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people that were wanting to progress into ultras? They may be runners, but they may have thought about ultras, but haven't really, considered what the next steps might be. What would you suggest?
If you don't do one, you're going to say, I wished I'd done one. And you're always going to kick yourself. So do one. But if you're going to do one, get yourself a good coach. Try not to listen to too many people. Focus who you have to focus on, because you start looking at group chats, you're going to be really confused. And the shoes are the biggest thing. Last Sportiva shoes are the best for me for 100-mile racing. And people, like everyone's got their own idea, but don't chop and change, because once you put another thing in the bucket, it's going to change everything. And then all of a sudden you've got a blister or something else is wrong. And I always have, always look after your feet in 100-mile. If you've got a blister, that can DNF. Good coach, good nutritionist, and follow the plan. Listen to your coach.
Are you good at that, Polly?
I am now. I never used to be. I was always on the naughty chair. I was terrible. No, I do now. I follow it right to. And we're always looking at the graphs, always looking at the fatigue, always looking at what's your body doing now. And then my nutritionist is always looking at my weight. How much weight have you lost? The other thing, if you do a 100-miler, they always weigh you before you race and they weigh you after the race. If you lose too much weight, in yourself by if you can't pedal, you're in the shit. So go and get an IV put in and you'll recover quicker.
Okay. Is that easy to do?
Oh, the medics will make you do it.
Oh, right.
There's no choice.
Have you ever had to do that yourself?
I think there's one of these questions here is what
go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah, well, this one really went wrong. And
Yeah.
because somebody said to me when I ran the Heafy in January, they said, have you ever DNF'd, or have you ever been not finished a race? I said, I will not finish a race if I'm physically pulled off the race by people. Otherwise, I'll still be there.
Yeah.
So this race was ultra easy down in Wanaka, Queenstown. It was nothing. It was Mount Roy. It was heading up Mount Pisa range. It was the ski fields. It was a lot, and it was really, really hot. And I started running, and I had a bit of a grumbly tummy, and I thought, what the hell's going on here? And I didn't get very far, and I have to stop. And in the end, it was just no graces, just drop your decks, because I had terrible guts ache, something shocking. And I had 15K to go out of the 100K race, and the medics said, we're going to pull you. And I said, no, I'm only got 15K to go. I can do this. It's just the top 2 inches. Just give me a banana. And they said, is there anything else you need? And I said, yeah, I need a cork, and I need it up my ass because I've got to. And I finished the race, but what I did was I just put a bit of banana in my mouth, and I let my saliva to absorb the banana until I could just swallow it like water. And that's how I got all the, because I was losing nutrients, something shocking. And so I lost 5 kilo in that race. And it was quite serious, but I didn't do anything about it, and I probably should have. So the next day you've got very saggy skin. It's quite ugly. Yeah, that's
you finished that one though.
I did. I got a second in that one.
Really?
But it was tough. Yeah. And that's when I sports nutritionist. We've got to work that one out.
Yes. You've talked a little bit about the food already, but what's your lead in? So what sort of things do you eat as you're approaching, and then what happens during and what happens afterwards?
Okay, so I eat 4 meals a day. So it starts off with protein powder, peanut butter, water, 50 grams of berries, and 35 grams of rolled oats. That's breakfast. And then 3 hours later, I'll have 140 grams of chicken, salad, or 120 grams of salad, and some nuts. And then 3 hours after that, very similar, but it drops down. And then dinner drops down again, but you can have fish or chicken or something. So they're 4 meals a day. And when our training blocks, like I think I had 3 months with no days off. So you're really focused on a lot of training. So what I do is at the first 2 hours I go out training, I don't eat or drink anything. So I've done a 2.5-hour mountain bike ride this morning, but with no fuel and no water. So, and I fuel when I come back with protein and that sort of stuff. So, and then you slowly start to ramp that food up again before race day. So a month before race day. And then on race day, you've done all the hard work, and it's just basically eat. So what I have with me is a product called Astaki, and it's chia seeds, lemon, honey, and water. And that's in a 250 pouch. That is available for me for the last 30K.
Okay.
And I also have Beat It shots. So I have those 10 days before a race. It's just, it's beetroot. So it puts puts it into your red blood cells. I have one of those 10-day, one for the 10 days before the race, and then during the race every 12 hours. And then during the race, I'll have with me, I always have a backup plan. So my fuel, my liquid in the back is very cheap. It's just called Zero Powerade, and Himalayan salt. That's what I have because it works for me. Won't work for everyone. But in my backup for a fluid, say if that goes pear-shaped, I know I've got my goo capsules that I put in water because I've got 2 500ml flasks in the front. So I just throw one of those in. And if that doesn't work, then I have it's like a salt stick tab, and you chew on those, and it just keeps getting that stuff back into. And I use goo stroop waffles because they're quite yummy. And I have organic baby food. So it is, what did we have? Vanilla custard.
Okay.
And they're in my pouches. And Pic's peanut butter slug. I find the Pic's getting a little bit hard to get down. You can tell where they were because it was really, really, really hot up there.
Right.
And then when I come in to the aid station, especially at night time, and Tarawera was really, really hot. And there was a lot of people vomit. A lot of people pulled the race because they couldn't handle the heat. What I did going back a step is that when I trained, I made sure, so my training was twice a day. So I'd do a big long run in the heat of the day and then have a couple of hours off and then do a short run in the afternoon. But I always made sure I trained in the heat of the day because we knew that Tarawera can get really hot.
Wow.
So you got to be prepared for it. So the Australians and the French and the Americans and the Japanese weren't ready for the heat. And so that was a bit of a win-win situation.
Yeah.
In the nighttime, they'll give me pumpkin soup, which is quite nice, and potatoes with lots of salt on, and coffee.
Nice.
And then just away I go. And it's just like, just whatever looks okay to eat, I grab it, but it's mainly fluid.
Yeah.
It's mainly fluid, a protein shake or just mainly fluid. It's just something in there, or that radix, they have that smoothie, something that's, just, you got to keep your gut healthy. If your gut's unhappy, you'll just eat the shits.
Yeah. So you talked about the pumpkin soup and the potato. Is that prepared and ready at the aid station because of your support crew?
Yeah, my support crew did that. She actually didn't tell me, but she put a bit of whiskey in there, which is quite nice. My support crew, Lisa Good made the pumpkin.
So they know where the station is, therefore they make sure they've got it ready for you when you're approaching.
Yeah, well, the first aid station was 70k in, and I was running pretty well. I felt quite strong, and I said, I really want a croissant, and they had these croissants waiting for me, and a wrap, and that was, and then, I took my feet off, oiled my feet, put the socks back on, shoes gone, but they were rushing me, I said, stop rushing me, I've come to say hello, but I didn't know that the second place getter was 2 minutes in behind me, and we had a 1.4k boat ride over one of the lakes in Rotorua, and I basically come off the hill and jumped straight on the boat and got across, but she had to wait, and I ended up by extending the lead for another hour. So because she just popped in the heat. The heat got her. So and I had no idea, but even in the very last aid station, I obviously had too much coffee and the eyes were popping out of the brain, and they said, "Now you got time, take this off." I said, "No, I'm just running with all my night gear on." And they said, "You don't need to." I said, "Yes, I do. I'm being chased down." So yeah. It was a long way in front, so it was all right.
You knew. Can you give us a sort of can you give us an idea of the amount of time, the commitment that you put into this on a, say, maybe a weekly basis? I mean, obviously it's going to vary depending on events. Yeah,
it does. If you want to run 100 mile, my goal, I said to James, I want to win this race. It's a big ask because it's an international race, and anything can go wrong. So I want you to put me in the best possible position. So when I get to that start line, I know I'm going to be good to go. And we do that with every race. To give you an idea, January was an interesting one because I was guiding 5 days. I had a day off. I went straight back out guiding again for another 5 days, had a day off, and that was all of January. And then I ran the Heafy track over 2 days the last week, and then it was 1 week at home, and then it was race week.
Right.
But my day off was CrossFit in the morning, followed by a 3-hour run in the heat. That was my day off. And then I went straight back out guiding again. So it's time on your legs where there's, to give you an hour, there's no day you can specifically say an hour, at the time frame.
Okay.
It's just that you put everything into it you possibly can. And then, and then just we may have to change it, but you don't have a day off because you're back to back with 100 mile with ultra running. There's you don't have a sleep and then get up in the morning and run again. You just keep running until you get to the finish line.
Sure. It's quite a different beast, isn't it? Um,
It's-
Interesting. You said your day off was a gym session, a CrossFit, and then a run. So, when someone says day off, we normally expect people to be, maybe doing a bit of yoga or maybe a bit of swimming. But that sounds like quite an intense day off. Is there a consistent theme of that gym work in your program, or is that more by choice?
No, it really is now. So
Yeah.
we're base training on the off season. So so I probably go to the gym 4 times a week.
Okay.
Which I find terribly boring. But you've got to work on your quads and all your different loading with the leg extensions, and it never used to be a thing years ago. You'd never see athletes in the gym, but now you see every athlete's in a gym working on whether it's plyometrics or specific training for like Ruth Croft. She's in her off season and she does a lot of strength work in the gym. So that's what James has got me doing, and also we're mountain biking as well. So we're mountain biking over the pass, and then we run. So the cross training is probably more than the running at the moment. Yeah.
I guess there's some good sort of crossover with the bike in terms of quads for.
Yeah. I had a bit of an accident out guiding, went for a bit of a tumble and completely shot my IT band and got a bone bruise on my knee and my shoulder and everything. But it's all right. You finish the guiding trip with a few bit of Pantadine on your in your pocket and keep going and then deal with it afterwards, really. So, and we're still going through that bone bruise at the moment, but it's all right. Yes, it's fine.
How do you juggle it all, Polly, in terms of family,
Yeah.
career, ultra running? I mean, that's a full plate.
Yeah, it is a full plate. And so, I've got what have I got? 38 clients at the moment, which is top heavy for me. I don't want that many. But I'm training rowers and all sorts at the moment. But so what I do is I work at every Sunday, they get a text for their time, but it works around me. But if I can't work around me, then I will get up at 2 a.m. in the morning and I'll run till 6. And then I'll be at the gym straight at 6:30.
Right.
And train my clients and then rest during the day and then go back and train them at night. So the training always gets done. But it's whether you're going to do it at 2 a.m. in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, which I don't do because I like to be in bed by 8:30.
Say, especially if you're getting up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an old person now, so I've got to look after myself.
It's just a number, isn't it, Polly?
Yeah, it's only a number. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You're certainly proving that.
Yeah. No, so I just work it round to suit me. And yeah, so you just got to do it. I mean, that's that why question. Why are you doing it?
Sure.
And if you're going to miss a day's training, don't turn up to the start line. Get that bib to someone else that wants that number.
Yeah, don't deprive others. Yeah. You can justify the odd one or two though, can't you? In terms of in the bigger scheme of things, 1 or 2 missed runs aren't the end of the world.
Yeah, no, if you're your fatigue, your fitness, those levels are a little bit out, then we might suggest have a day off. But I don't really have days off. I think it's just that driving force in the brain department again. You're there for a reason.
What are some of those metrics that you look at? Is it things like resting heart rate variability, recovery?
Yeah, it's a graph thing. It's on Training Peaks, and it just shows you the level of where you should still be going up. We don't want to see it going back down, and if you're going down, we're in trouble. But yeah, it's just watching all the levels, and James diagnoses all that for me because it's another thing I've got to look at, really.
Yeah. So does your watch give you some useful data as well as the Training Peaks?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the watch is great. The watch is your office, really. Yeah.
So with all of that, you get a good picture of where you're at as well as how you feel.
And where your body's at. You always know if you're if you're coming down with something. Your body battery is on the decline. You go, what's going on here? And your school's not that well, or there's all different things.
What's the next big challenge, Polly? You've hinted at a couple of things.
Yeah, the big challenge is UTMB, and I find out in January next year, or January next year if I'm in. Okay. But the big one this year is Kosciuszko up in the snowy mountains through Bow Ski Field. So yeah, that'll be that. You know, I'm quite excited about it, but I have to admit the snakes scare the shit out of me. You know, honestly, with the luck I have, I'll stand on one. I did the 100K in the Blue Mountains, that UTA. That was quite a good one, and I actually nothing got me there, so I should be all right.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got nothing to base that on. So,
so Cossie's end of November. So yeah, we'll fly over there and have a week and get them. So we always go a week before the race, so we can get the first day after the flight, your legs are shit, and then they slowly start to come right, and then the last day, you know, you're firing on all cylinders, and you're going to have a good race.
Yeah. This last question about gender gap, it's quite an interesting when you look at men versus women, and there's not much of a difference, but until you start to get into the ultra world, and then the women start to dominate that space more so than the men. What do you think that's about? Why do women excel in the extra distance?
I don't know. You know, I wonder if the men just like, whether they just like the 100K or 21K, or there's some good male athletes out there, but there's a hell of a lot of women. You're right. I don't know. I know when the gun goes, they all take off like a rat up a drain pipe, and you'd go like one thing to hang on to them. So
is a lack of testosterone possibly an advantage?
It could be, you know, it could be, you know, it's, you know, like when the guys, you know, when my parents had a high country sheep station, and the men always push the stock to the limit, you know, and whereas the women were a little bit kinder and a little bit, you know, just let them cruise along quite nicely, you'll still get at the same time. I don't know what the answer is to that one or anything. It's who knows?
You might be being, I think you're being a bit kind, Polly. There might be a really glaringly obvious answer, but you're right. It may not be as obvious as we think it is, but you know, you've talked a few times about the top 2 inches, and I wonder how much that plays into it in terms of just that tenacity, not giving in. And you know, even when you've had to make a toilet stop that was wasn't planned, some people might go, "Oh, I'm done," you know, that's it. But that's not the case. It's that tenacious drive.
You might be right. I mean, at Tarawera race, they had the 100 milers and the 100Ks crossing over in one of the aids, and it actually was a bit of a confusion. And I was just getting I always actually have a cup of ginger beer at an aid station, and that just settles the gut. I always take ginger with called gingins, and they're great. And I just, they're everywhere I go. If you have a bit of an upset stomach, just eat a ginger. And I was having this drink, and this guy goes, "Polly, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm running like you are." And he goes, "So which one are you doing?" He said, "The 100." I said, "Oh, mate, you're nearly home." And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm stuffed. I can't go any further." I said, "Yes, you can. What's wrong with you?" He said, "Oh, no, I'm really sore." I said, "Oh, for God's sake, here's a couple of Panadol. Get on with it." I said, "I've still got to get way out there and come back again." And he did the 100K and I did the 100 mile. He only finished 4 hours and behind me. Jeez. So he struggled.
Yeah. It keeps coming back to mindset for me. You know, like you're both at the aid station. You both got some work left to do on the table, but he was looking at it completely differently to you, and that just goes straight to mindset for me.
Yeah, it was one of the big stations at, I can't think of the name. It's an unusual name, and that's where I picked up my pacer, and we had to go through the timing mat, and then we had to go through a building. And of course, my crew all outside because I don't want to be warm, because then your body shuts down and you just say, "Oh, I'm going to go to sleep now." And one of the things that I couldn't get over was the people vomiting everywhere. And in this building, there was medics everywhere, and there was people everywhere, like they were just DNFing, something shocking. And so I just went straight through, and I happened to say to my pace, I said, what the hell's wrong with them? She said, oh, they're all going home in the bus. I went, why? But yeah, most of them were men, sadly. Yeah.
Right. And do you think there's an element of, when you're starting out, there are things that you just don't know until you've actually done it, regardless of how much training and how much expertise there's behind it?
Well, the thing with 100-mile race is that you look at the race, you look at the graph, you look at the contours, you absolutely have the whole thing worked out, where you need to look after yourself, where you really need to look after yourself because it's technical, and where you need to actually start to push the button.
Sure.
I always race in zone 2. So I'm always having a board meeting with myself, as I call it. I'm always chatting to people, as you know. And yeah, I'm always looking after myself. I'm always listening to my body. What does it need? How's the gut feeling? What are the feet doing? Feet are great. Cool. Don't worry about the feet. What's the gut doing? Right. Now, just little and often, just eat just something small. Just, it doesn't matter what it is, but keep that body fueled. As if you don't, if you don't listen to it and have it working like a well-oiled machine, you will DNF, you will vomit, you will possibly die like one did last year. So it's where their kidneys, and I think one of the HMC things Dave was talking about what can happen.
Okay.
Japanese guy did. So so you got to look after yourself.
Yeah, you have. I know we've exhausted that list, and it's been a great chat. Are there any questions I should have asked or didn't ask, Polly, that would be good to add in?
I think you've got it covered pretty good, really.
Cool. Okay, fantastic. All right, well, we might go to end the episode and go to some questions. So thanks so much for your time, Polly. It's been great chatting, and catch you next time.
Absolutely. Cool.
Cheers.